Welcome in to another episode of the Armchair Illini podcast. My name is Alex. I'm the owner of Armchair Illini. We are back with yet another game day preview. We're going to be talking strictly about the Illinois versus Purdue game this Saturday on January 24th in Mackey Arena, where the 11th ranked Illini will take on the 4th ranked Purdue Boilermakers. We just did a very nice episode over with Rafael Davis, BTN analyst and former Purdue basketball player, to get his thoughts on the game and what the Purdue Boilermakers have kind of been like in the past few games, and what his thoughts from a BTN analyst's point of view about the Illini's chances on Saturday. But wanted to talk with my good friend Robby Nardini here about this game and really go into kind of the Illinois side of things, as we kind of focused on the Purdue side of things and got some overall Big Ten thoughts with Rafael. So we're going to be talking mostly Illinois here, but let us know if you guys have any feedback. As always, we want to provide the best game day content for you guys. And before we get started, I do want to shout out our sponsor. It is Hamilton Walker Seafood and Spirits. We are very proud to announce our partnership with the Hamilton Walker Seafood and Spirits. We're going to be doing $50 giveaways every home game, so not for a little bit, probably next week. We just had one for our game versus Maryland. We'll be doing $50 giveaways. All you have to do is subscribe to our YouTube page and share the post. So tune into our social medias and be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel while you're here. We just got over 600 subs and we are growing every day, so really appreciate all your guys' time and viewership. So without further ado, we'll get right into it. Robby, what are some of your thoughts about the Illinois matchup versus Purdue this Saturday?
Yeah, it's a big game, finally. We've been doing these previews with a lot of games where we're favored by a lot of points. I know we played Iowa where we were a small favorite, but I feel like a lot of these previews we've been kind of just saying do what we do and we'll win the game. And we're finally getting into the heat of the schedule where we're not going to be favored and we are not the better team. So I'm excited for this preview, and I'm excited for Saturday's game. I think it'll be a huge challenge for Illinois going into Mackey Arena.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've had this game circled for a lot of reasons. Obviously, this is a very big game in terms of the Big Ten race. Illinois is 7-1, and so is Purdue. Nebraska is 8-0, while Illinois, Michigan State, Michigan, and Purdue are all 7-1 right now at the very moment. But you have a chance to get a marquee top five victory. Purdue right now is ranked very, very highly. They're 17-2 on the season. Like I said, 7-1 in their Big Ten play. They are coming off a loss versus UCLA out west. So I do expect the Purdue Boilermakers to be raring for a win. That crowd is going to be absolutely nuts this Saturday at 2 p.m. Central Time. Illinois, again, you had this one circled, but unfortunately you had the news this week that senior guard Kylan Boswell will be out at least a month with a fractured right hand. His shooting hand, by the way, he had just underwent surgery today. Typically, in my amateur knowledge, that kind of injury typically takes about 3 to 6 weeks after you get surgery. The process is you allow the bones to stabilize, and at one point those plates got to come out, and then you start really ramping up range of motion and all of that. And that's for a normal, everyday, healthy person, or just one of your weekend warriors. This is not a Division I basketball player using their right hand to dribble, to shoot, to guard, to poke into opponents' shot pockets, things like that. So I expect Kylan Boswell to be out at least 4 weeks. But Illinois has to bring their best game. They looked pretty good in the game versus Maryland. Maryland is not a great opponent, but you had Andrej Stojakovic go off for 30 points and 9 rebounds, looking pretty good there. Keaton Wagler did his thing off shooting night, but still found a way to contribute. So I think that's going to be a big theme heading into Mackey Arena. I know we said do what you do, but Illinois got to do what they do.
Well, on this podcast, not only do you get great analysis for Illinois basketball, you do get free medical advice from Alex over here. And yeah, obviously we won't have Kylan for this game. And I think I texted you earlier, Purdue is 29-8 after a loss since 2020. And Matt Painter is one of the best coaches in the entire country. He received a lot of hate after losing to North Texas and St. Peter's and whatever, but I'm a huge Matt Painter fan, and he's going to have the guys ready. I think you mentioned Keaton Wagler. We're going to lean on him even more without Kylan, which is crazy to say because we've been leaning on an 18-year-old for most of the season now, especially the second half, getting into, after the Nebraska game or after the just into conference play. So we're definitely going to need to lean on him even more, as well as Andrej. We saw Andrej have a nice game, 30 piece against Maryland, but we're playing against the big boys now, so he's going to have to come ready to play. Keaton's going to, be relied on a ton as well, and they're playing against one of the best guards in the entire country, if not the best guard in Braden Smith. He's coming off a poor game, and he's going to have a day. So our guards are going to have to bring it and stay out of foul trouble as well.
Yeah, I think this game just really stings going into it because this is a game where Kylan Boswell really, really gets some shine here. He's going to guard Braden Smith. This is his chance to really establish himself as one of the best, if not the premier defender in the Big Ten, and all of that is just taken away. Obviously, we know what Kylan Boswell means to this team and how his absence is going to affect Illinois. But this was such a huge opportunity for Kylan Boswell to really, show out on a national stage. So it just sucks that, his final year of college eligibility is shortened by something like this. And we hope that he has a speedy recovery with all this. You mentioned Braden Smith. I think the obvious choice is that Andrej Stojakovic guards him as he guarded Diggy Coit. Diggy Coit started off 3 for 3, but I think ended up about 4 for 13 off the top of my head. So pretty good job afterwards, and he scored some garbage time buckets, I think. And I don't want to add that to Andrej's total, but he did a very good job on both ends of the ball. Would you stick Andrej Stojakovic onto Braden Smith, or would you go a different route?
I'd go Andrej for sure, and I think that's kind of your only option. I'd put Keaton Wagler on Lawyer, and I think the length could bother Braden a little bit. Andrej's 6'6", 6'7". Braden's obviously pretty small, so I'm hoping Andrej's length will bother him a little bit. Hopefully, I think it's going to be a team effort, though. I saw a video from Joe Jackson on X just talking about Illinois' defense last year compared to this year, and we're still running the deep drop, which everyone complained about in the Kentucky game, but it kind of just works with our size and our length. But I saw a lot of the other guys are helping off, and there's more focus on the ball. So last year, Braden had a day in deep drop because he's a great mid-range shooter, and we can't just let him get cooking on mid-range like last year. I know he won the game at home, but he's going to be hunting a shot, and he's going to try to use his quickness to go by Andrej, and he's a big pick and roll guy with TKR and Oscar Clough. So definitely going to need to stop him in those deep drops and make it tough for him. I think Andrej's length could be a problem. He's pretty good at those late contests and blocking shots, and hopefully that'll be the case.
Yeah, and I think something to watch in terms of what Purdue has done. Obviously, everyone thinks about Braden Smith, but you got to force him into some turnovers. Illinois does not turn people over that much, but Braden Smith had 6 turnovers in the loss versus UCLA. Had some pretty costly ones towards the end there. There's a lot on his shoulders, obviously, but also I do want to note that Fletcher Lawyer, senior guard, who has always been a sharpshooter, Illinois is very familiar with Fletcher Lawyer. Coming to the State Farm Center and hitting open threes, but 6 for 24 in his last 4 games. A little bit of a shooting slump for one of the nation's best shooters. And Trey Kaufman-Renn, he averaged about 19 points last year, was expected to be a National Player of the Year candidate, but has struggled with a hip injury and really hasn't looked himself. He probably could be sitting out, but I think he really wants to maximize his time with Braden Smith, who I'm sure they're very close with, but he's only averaging about 12 points. And about 8 rebounds, still rebounding at a very good clip, but is obviously hampered by that, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. So Purdue has played a lot of Oscar Clough, who is one of those, those classic tall Purdue guys. Daniel Jacobson as well has filled in nicely there. So Purdue basically said, let's run it back from last year. And Illinois won that game in the State Farm Center on a nice shot from Kasparis Yakichonis. So I do think that there is a chance, but like you said, it's going to start with Andrej Stojakovic. It's going to start with guys hitting down open threes because they're going to clog up the lanes with Andrej Stojakovic and Keaton Wagler in hopes of having a guy like Jake Davis, Ben Hummerkaus, or one of the Avicic brothers knock down open threes to beat you. That's what I think.
Yeah, definitely. And Oscar Clough has kind of taken away some of TKR's productivity. He's a big guy that takes up a lot of space and is a good rebounder. And they are running it back, but Clough is a good addition to Purdue, and they've looked like one of the best teams in the country up until recently. Losing to UCLA, they blew a 6-point lead in the last minute, And just looking a little bit deeper into analytics, I think both defenses aren't very good. I mean, they're both decent. Purdue's 19, Illinois 23. They kind of have very similar, KenPom numbers both ways. Top three in offense, top 23 in defense. Neither team gets the foul line on offense very much, but neither team fouls either. So very similar outlooks, and both are good rebounding teams too. But if you look at just conference play, which I think Purdue's 7-1 now,
Mhm,
or I think that's right. Yeah. If you look
mhm,
at Purdue's defense in conference play, though, it's actually really a lot worse than just throughout the whole season. If you can compare it to Illinois, especially too, they're number 13 effective field goal percentage compared to Illinois' number 3, and they're outside the top 10 in 3-point percentage, 2-point percentage on defense as well for Purdue. So, I mean, I think Illinois offensively has a chance to have a really good game, and especially with Davis and Humrickhausen, like Rafael mentioned, there's a lot more space to drive the ball. And hopefully we don't settle for threes. Andrej goes to the rim, use our big guys to really get inside too. I know Clough is a big body, but TKR is kind of, undersized for a big guy per se. Um, he was playing center last year, kind of undersized. He's more of a power forward, which is what he'll be playing mostly. But I think this is the type of game that Tommy and Z can get going to really space the floor out with Clough guarding one of those guys and really get to the rim with, especially with Braden and Lawyer, who are, smaller, skinnier type guards. We can hopefully exploit some matchups there.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the biggest keys, at least I have some keys to Illinois winning here. I think obviously you got to avoid foul trouble, which doesn't need to be said, especially with Kylan Boswell out. Keaton Wagler, you can't get any of those silly fouls. If he goes into foul trouble, this game is as good as over. I think Zvonimir Visic can't do what he did the other night ever again. Obviously, he was trying to box up people on their foreheads and just had a couple of silly flagrant fouls. A very, very stark contrast to the game that he had versus Minnesota. I think Zvonimir Visic could really change the tone of this game with his athleticism, with his ability to knock down the three, and with his ability to erase shots at the rim. I don't think Illinois has had that, at least while playing Braden Smith. So I think having an eraser like Z around the rim will really mess up Braden Smith, even if he is able to beat, a guy like Stojakovic or Keaton Wagler off of that drop coverage. And then, like you said, you got to knock down your open threes. Jake Davis and Humbrickhouse, versus Minnesota, I think they're 0 for 4 combined. Jake Davis was 4 of 6 yesterday versus Minnesota. Or Maryland, excuse me, and you guys saw the result. So you got to knock down your open threes, and you got to avoid, big lulls, and you can't turn the ball over, obviously, because once you turn the ball over in Mackey Arena, it's like an avalanche. That crowd gets going, and you just kind of fall at the wayside. But I think we got a stable leader in Keaton Wagler, kind of running the show. So I'm not too worried about the Illini's composure. But you never know. This is a new challenge for them without Kylan Boswell. The last time that Illinois beat Purdue at Mackey Arena, I believe was the time when you were a manager, was that 2019-2020 season, where Illinois went into Mackey Arena and dominated Purdue. Big games from Kofi, big games from Io. And I was really impressed. I think that was one of the Illini's best games during that season. Were you there for that?
I was, yeah. Your boy was there. We won in Mackey, and that was a great experience. I hate to say it because I really just hate saying it. I hate that it comes out of my mouth like this, but Mackey Arena is definitely the best environment I've ever been in. I want to say it's State Farm Center because I'm biased, but I don't want to lie. So Purdue, Mackey Arena, definitely the best environment I've been to. I've been to most of the Big Ten ones. I can't, talk on Kansas and Duke and Iowa State, some other really good ones. So I think it is important we keep our composure. That game that we won in Mackey Arena, as you know, Alan Griffin got kicked out, and Mackey Arena was going absolutely bonkers. I've never heard louder boos in my life. Hopefully, there's louder boos when Merez comes back to Champaign in State Farm Center. But until then, no. I was just happy that we kept our composure. We were really, able to win a tough road game against Purdue, and that was one of the best games I experienced. And we won some big road games that year too. And I think to really win in Mackey, you got to do the little things, keep your composure. They're going to go on runs. You're not going to be winning the entire game. You're going to be, you're going to go down on a 10-0 run. We're going to call a timeout. The arena's going to go crazy. So we'll see how we can keep our composure without Boswell. I think, Keaton has been one of those guys that has really helped our composure just as a freshman. He makes big shots. he's a crowd silencer per se, and hopefully we'll get some of that on Saturday.
Yeah, ice in his veins for sure. We are joined here by Robby Nardini. I am Alex. We're doing another game day preview. While you're here, Illini fans, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us out a lot. We've just approached over 600 subs, so really appreciate all your guys' viewership and appreciate any feedback you guys have. We want to provide the best game day content for you guys as well. Do want to shout out another one of our sponsors. It is the Illini store over at the NIL store with Campus Inc. We are very, very proud and very, very pumped to team up with the Illini NIL store, get officially licensed merch of Kylan Boswell, Luke Altmaier, Jake Davis, even Brad Underwood merch. Make sure you get your orange tracksuits as well. They do have those there along with the Scally hats as well. If you want to match those random fans behind the bench wearing those, it is actually from the Illini NIL store. So get that there. And be sure to use our code Armchair Illini in all caps to get 15% off of your order. That is code Armchair Illini. So, Robby, with that being said, let's hear a prediction.
Yeah, I was so close on the Minnesota one, but the garbage time really screwed me over. I guess just getting into keys of the game, like I kind of mentioned, Purdue's interior defense isn't great. They're 187 in 2-point percentage. So I'm hoping Illinois can really use their size and even play some big lineups. You know, Merkovich at the 3, play the 2 of Isus brothers, etc. Kind of just use our size to, score in the interior. And I really just think in those deep drops, we saw Braden Smith cook last year. We saw Kobe Brea in the Kentucky game do the same. I think hopefully it's an emphasis in practice. Tommy and Z and those big guys, I think Merck does a really good job. I think just play up a little bit more in these deep drops. You know, you could still be pretty far down, but just not so far down where you can just make mid-range jumpers. I think that's a key to the game as well. And unfortunately, I think I'm going to go with Purdue to win this game. I think Illinois has a chance. They're a 4-point underdog on KenPom that doesn't consider Kylan Boswell being out, of course. And even if Kylan was in, I think I would choose Purdue to win this game. They're just so good. They were my pick to win the Big Ten up until a couple days ago when I switched my pick to Nebraska. Put that on record so we can clip this once Nebraska ends up winning the Big Ten. But hopefully Illinois does, and one loss isn't going to hurt us in the Big Ten race really at Purdue. And I just think they'll come off a loss and take care of business at home. And for a score prediction, you know, both defenses are not great. Both offenses are really, really good. But I don't think it's going to be like a running gun, up and down type game. Both teams will play offense within their half court sets and try to get good shots. So I'll go Purdue 79, Illinois 73.
Got it. That's 79-73, Purdue winning. I'm going with something similar. I think Illinois is bound to have one of those games that they're either going to be red hot from 3 or super cold. And I think one of those games are going to show up in one of these road games. So I think, unfortunately, Illinois might go cold in the Mackey Arena. And I don't think that Illinois has enough to win. I really want to see a second straight good game from Andrej Stojakovic because he seems to have good games followed by, so-so games. So I want to see it twice before really saying that, hey, Andrej Stojakovic is really taking advantage of this whole Kylan Boswell situation. But all eyes are on him. He's going to be the head of the snake for Illinois. Obviously, Keaton Wagler is going to do what he does, but I think Andrej Stojakovic is a huge X factor. Can he make 4 threes again like he did the other night? It's difficult to say because he's been very, very streaky this entire year. So I think with that being said, Purdue's not going to lose 2 games in a row. They're coming off a pretty disappointing loss out west. So I'm going to go Purdue 84, Illinois 73. And I think that there's going to be some shots hit at the end that kind of push that deficit a little bit further, but it will be a close game for the most part. Very similar to the UConn game, honestly. I think there's going to be some runs and some lulls at the same time. And then big X factor as well, Jake Davis. If you can hit 4 threes again, there's going to be some opportunity for him. They're going to load up on Andrej and Keaton getting to the lane. So I do think there's going to be some opportunity for Jake. I believe he hit 58 in warm up.
Yeah,
58 or 56.
Great. He's shooting over 40% now. I mean, he's really dialing in recently. So hopefully he can keep that going. I saw on Evan Mia that both of Purdue's losses this year, the other team has made 10 plus threes. So we're definitely going to need to make some threes as usual, but hopefully that won't be too hard of a task for us since we shoot a million of them.
Yeah, and how crazy would the timeline go if Mihailo Petrovic like outplays Braden Smith? Remember that comparison?
Yeah, I mean, I saw that and I was like, I don't care who it is. I'm not comparing anyone ever to Braden Smith, one of the best point guards in the history of the Big Ten. I mean, I don't care if Cassius Winston's walking in. I mean, that's the only person that you can compare to him. And
Yeah.
Magic Johnson and other guys like that. So, I mean, either way, I saw that. I was like, I don't care how good Petrovic is. He's not going to be Braden Smith.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. I think this is a good opportunity for Illinois to see where they're at. I know they're missing Kylan Boswell, but this is a great opportunity for them to see where they're at before returning home to play. I think it's Washington after this.
Yep.
So
Thursday night, I'll be in attendance. So hopefully, no loss there.
Yep. Okay. So we both have Purdue winning here. Mine is by double digits. Robbie's by pretty close single digit game. Robbie, what are you doing tomorrow before the game? I know you always have some spaces going on, but what do you got going on pregame wise?
Yeah, Saturday I'll be going live 10 a.m. on X, the Champagne Room Twitter account. I posted it on Facebook too. So if you need a link that way, if you don't have X or whatever. So I'll be going live then, just talking Illinois hoops. Feel free to hop on. It's pretty conversational. You can say whatever you want to say, hot takes, anything at all. If you want to give another diagnosis to Kylan like Alex likes to do, we can do that too. I'll pretend to be a doctor and give medical advice as well. But yeah, feel free to join on. We usually have about 30, 40 people on there just talking hoops. So I'll kind of just go through matchups, lineups, what I expect, kind of similar to here. I'll give my score prediction. I'll stay the same at 79-74. But yeah, check it out there. And we'll have our game day preview here on Armchair for the article version and subscribe to our YouTube channel too. It sounds like we're above 600 and hopefully we'll get to 1,000 soon.
Yeah, definitely. Be sure to subscribe to our channel here for more game day previews. In regards to Robbie's spaces and his Discord, check the link in the description and be sure to check out armchairillini.com for all the latest content. Robbie, appreciate your time. And to all our listeners, thank you very much for tuning in. We will talk to you at our next game. Bye-bye.